was a dream. The voices, the women of the sand, they would speak to me in the wind. I could feel them in the earth. They were always there, watching. I saw a great battle. She warned of a storm coming. That I was the only one who could stop it. But to do that, I must become the storm. I was changed into this thing of scale and stone.
Hey everyone, it's Area of Effect with another out-of-the-box build. This time a Stamina Nightblade, the Dune-Quake Build. A very fun build that offers 4 different sets that will provide rock, sand, and everything earth and scale that you would need to be a desert maniac on the battlefield. And we will get into those sets in just a bit, but first I'll kind of showcase the visuals of what this build provides as far as the theme. Everything you do is rock and sand and earthquake and dune ripper if you want. We'll get into that in just a bit, but first take a look at this stat screen. We have over 7,000 weapon damage, over 32, almost 33,000 max stam, a lot of health. Look at our recovery. Our penetration is actually only 46, but we get over 11,000 more physical and spell penetration from debuffs we place on the enemy, and we will show that later. Our Teum Takeaway Broth, that's the food, max health, max stamina, health and stamina recovery. And our Mundus is the serpent for even more stam recovery, pushing it to almost 3k. The race we are is an orc. We want that brawny passive for more max stam, 1,000. Unflinching rage, max health 1,000. When you deal damage, you heal for 46 health every 4 seconds. That's great as just an automatic heal proc. And Swift Warrior, weapon and spell damage by 258, but speed, reduce the cost of sprint and movement speed of sprint by 10%, cost of sprint by 12. And you could be an Imperial or another stamina-based race if you would like. Let's take a look at the gear now. On the front bar, Vatashran's two-handed greatsword, Nirnhoned with the Berserker glyph, really pushing that weapon damage over 7,000. And basically, while momentum is active, any stamina ability that you use will give you a stack of frenzied momentum. At 5 stacks, you can release a charge, fully charged heavy attack, 9,000 physical damage, AoE around you. But you can continue on past 5 stacks and go up to 10. And you'll continue to gain weapon and spell damage incrementally for each stamina ability that you cast. Light and heavy attacks won't do it, but yeah, while it's active, you see the symbol that has 5, 6, 7 on the bottom. It's continuing to go up. I'm casting all kinds of different skills, and now I'm at 10. So at 10, I've got maximum value weapon damage from it, and I can just sit at this and just stay at that, and it will keep resetting. Or if you release it with a heavy attack, it will then do a huge earthquake, direct damage, AoE. Monster set, Celestrex. First item, max stam. Second item, when you deal damage, you create an earthquake under the enemy that erupts after 1.5 seconds, dealing over 8,000 physical damage to all enemies in the area and stuns them for 3 seconds. Another option is Tremor Scale. As I showed in the video, you pierce armor or do a taunt and he emerges from the ground with a sand dune, hits the enemy for physical damage and also debuffs them, bringing their physical and spell resistance down by over 2,000. So the next 5-piece set is Pillar of Nirn. The 5th trait, when you deal damage, you create a fissure underneath the enemy that after 1 second deals an immediate 5,600 bleed damage, but then afterward deals 25, almost 26,000 bleed damage over 10 seconds to every enemy in the area. There it is. It is the rocks that came up and crushed. I'm just building up my buffs here. And that is insane. I mean, it's another earth, a moving, damage dealing AoE, and everybody gets it. Next 5-piece set, Red Mountain. When you deal damage with a weapon, you spawn in a volcano that erupts after 1 second, launching liquid lava out of the earth. It doesn't say out of the earth, but that's where it's from. 15,000 flame damage, and it's an all-in-one burst damage every 8 seconds. So just another proc and also another earth-based. You got to have magma. You got rock. You got your sand, but it comes out of the ground. So Red Mountain jewelry, as you noticed, it's all transmuted to infused. We are doing a heavy shoulder, a light helmet, but you could do a medium shoulder, a light helmet. I just did, basically the light and heavy, so we have all the Undaunted passives for 6% of our max resources. On the back bar, Sword and Board, Pillar of Nirn Dagger, and Red Mountain Shield Both of those 5-piece sets become active when we switch to that bar, so we can proc them on command when we want them. A Crusher glyph on the dagger to bring their physical and spell resistance down by almost 1,000 more. It's infused, so it happens more often. And that's going to be the setup. You could put the poison on there if you want for a dot. But let's get into the skills now. First skill is Carve. You could also use Dizzying Swing, but we've got Carve as the primary. 9750 bleed damage to enemies, all of them in an AoE, and then 11,000 bleed damage over 12 seconds. But that dot can be stacked up to 3 times. So I hit him with 3 cards, and you'll see the dot, the orange numbers at his waist, is actually much higher than listed because it's stacked and it's like triple damage now. It will also give you a damage shield, by the way. Next skill, Reverse Slice. Basically a finisher, 6,500 damage up front, but scales up 300% more damage if the enemy's under 50% health. So the lower they are in health, the higher the number. Like I said, not a lot up front, but you get that dust comes out. Look at that. It's like you're slamming them with a dust hammer. So that's cool. But definitely got to have this. I picked the AoE version to hit all targets. Stampede. You simply cannot have a stamina two-handed build without using Stampede. It's a gap closer. Launch across the earth, it says, 22 meters. Over 10,000 physical damage to all of them, but it's a critical strike all the time. Guaranteed, which is great for, honestly, you could use it consecutively and deal a big burst of AoE damage to a group by just spamming Stampede, and I've done it. But it leaves a dot on the ground, the cracked, smoky dust there and sand. So next skill, Rally, basically gives you major brutality, increasing your weapon damage by 20%, but you also get minor endurance, increasing your stamina recovery by 15%. You heal after the effect is over, but the heal is buffed the longer it is before you double cast it. This is also the skill we are using to proc Vadistrands and start building up our frenzied momentum. Next skill, Camouflaged Hunter. We have this slotted for 2 reasons. Obviously, we get the major savagery, increasing our weapon crit by a lot. And also, when you deal critical damage from a flank, you get minor berserk. So Stampede, hitting somebody from the sides or the back, is going to give you minor berserk, which is all the time. Dawnbreaker is our ultimate. Over 20,000 physical damage to enemies in front of you, and an additional 22, almost 23,000 physical damage over 6 seconds, and stuns them. Also, having Fighter's Guild abilities slotted increases your weapon damage by 3% per skill. Camouflaged Hunter and Dawnbreaker gives us 6% more weapon damage on that bar. Sword and Board bar, our first skill is Pierce Armor, deals 6,000 physical damage, but inflicts the enemy with minor breach and major breach, reducing their physical and spell resistance by basically 9,000. Right there, he just dropped 9,000 of his resistances. And if you're wearing Tremor Scale, that's going to take it down even further to like 11,000. And then if you have that Crusher glyph, it's like 12,000. On top of your 4,000 or 4,600 already, you're really hitting hard. They basically have very little resistances left. The next skill is Resolving Vigor, a lot of healing over 4 seconds. The next skill is Shielded Assault, another gap closer, but also a stun. It helps them stay in place for Pillar of Nirn's delay, Tremor Scale's delay, Celestrex's delay. So basically when you lunge with Shielded Assault, you're going to knock them down, and they have to break free to get up to avoid the AoEs and the dots. So it's pretty cool. It also gives you a damage shield, but the fact that it deals damage up front, is a gap closer, is a stun, and also sets up some of your delayed procs with a better chance to hit, it's irreplaceable. So the next skill, Relentless Focus. I don't think you could use a Nightblade build as good as it could possibly be, whether it's Mage or Stam. If you didn't use this skill, it passively buffs your weapon and spell damage a lot. You could just sit on that extra buff damage, or you could consume it with a Spectral Arrow, dealing 22,000 disease damage. What a big number, and that could crit, obviously. And if you do it within melee range, it actually heals you. There's the arrow. 16,000 damage, and it was a non-crit. So when that thing crits, it's over 25k. If you're in close range, you'll get a big chunk of healing from that damage. And there you see I had it active. I did light attacks in a row, and it turned purple again. Next skill, Dark Cloak. It heals you for 2367 every 1 second for 5 seconds. It gives you minor protection for 12 seconds, reducing your damage taken by 5%. And in the passives, because there's a shadow barrier passive, you're going to get major resolve and major ward. So a lot of big physical and spell resistance for a certain amount of time after you cast it, depending on how many pieces of heavy armor you have. Which is another reason why it's beneficial to have that heavy armor pauldron with your monster set. Because not only does it give you the more undaunted passives for your 6%, but gives you a couple more seconds on your major resolve and major ward. The ultimate, Soul Tether, deals 17,000 magic damage all around you. You heal for half of that damage immediately, and then any enemy hit is connected with a tether that's basically going to heal you over 2,000 health every second while you're in range. So I wanted to go through a couple of things here just for clarity and explanation's sake about this build and certain tricks you could do and why it's set up the way it's set up. So I'm going to just go through, I guess, a conglomeration of skills with different purposes and different explanations. So you see all the effects going on, the earthquakes, the rocks. It's constant, and the damage is always AoE. But there's a lot of single target damage here. And you see how we have the sword on one bar, the sword of Pillar of Nirn and the shield of Red Mountain, like I said. That's so we can proc it on command on that bar. And it won't happen, while we're on our two-handed, like without us actually having the intention for it to proc. Because we do have dots. So the moment we switch to a sword and board, look, the damage is going to proc Pillar of Nirn and Red Mountain. But I also wanted to show you guys something else there. There's a way to cancel the fully charged heavy attack with Vadishrans. Performing a fully charged heavy attack is slow and kind of a drag, but you can animation cancel it and just bar swap, and the earthquake will show up within a half a second of you switching the bars, and I'll show it to you. So when I get buffed up, I've got 10 stacks, sorry. So Vadishrans is fully buffed, and that's that glow, that sandy glow coming off of me. If I go up and I do a fully charged heavy attack, I can complete it and do it the regular way, or I can cancel it, and you'll see an earthquake, like a rock splash damage happen behind me. So I'm lunging on him, but watch. Here we go. Watch the cancel switch right there. That was a canceled Vadishran, so you can get it to proc immediately. We are, in fact, looking for that heat. Moving into the champion points with a lot of heat. The green tree is basically your crafting, it's your knitting, your sewing, and your racing, and we don't really care except for steadfast enchantment. That's going to make you go through enchantment slower, and fall damage by 7% per stage, 35% reduced damage. Get that so you don't break your leg. And we can move into the blue tree, which is the fun tree. Master at Arms increases your damage done with direct damage attacks by 10%. We have a lot of direct damage attacks. Even our dots start with a direct damage attack. You got to have this 10% on your proc sets, so you have to use it. There's no choice. Deadly Aim, increase your damage done with single target attacks by 10%. That's going to be Pillar of Nirn. That's going to be Red Mountain, Shield Bash. That's going to be Pierce Armor. Biting Aura increases your damage done with Area of Effect by 10%. Everything. Dawnbreaker, Soul Tether, Pillar of Nirn, Celestrix, Tremor Scale, if it's that. You're going to have that. That was an automatic stutter, and I'm keeping that. It was not a DJ ripping on the record. Untamed Aggression, weapon and spell damage passively at all times. If you want Thaumaturge, that's going to increase the damage of Soul Tether, Pillar of Nirn, and Dawnbreaker, but I would keep it the way I've got it unless you want to change it for your own playstyle. Red Tree, Sustained by Suffering, increased all of your recoveries by 150 as long as you're under the effects of a negative effect, which is going to be constantly in PvP. Rejuvenation, 90 health, magicka, and stamina recovery at all times, negative effect or not. Fortified for more armor, 1731. That's going to help, especially with Tremor Scale, which is basically scales off of physical and spell resistance. And Boundless Vitality, more max health. Again, you could switch this up if you want for your playstyle. I used to use Juggernaut all the time, but they took it down from 10% down to 5%. So up to you. But that is how I laid it out. And that is going to wrap up the CP trees and actually wrap up the build video. The Dune-Quake Build Stamina Nightblade Orc. If you like this build and you want to see more, head on over to my channel. I've got plenty of content on there, builds of all types, as well as some other bonus content, visual effects, things that'll make you laugh, things that'll make you cry other than my voice. But yeah, also I wanted to thank you guys. I reached over 2,000K. 2,000K? I wish. I reached over 2K subscribers, and my views are headed up toward 200,000 total. So I appreciate all you guys. If you like this stuff, please like, subscribe, share with your friends, share with your enemies for all I care. Give them my worst builds and then pound them. But anyway, thanks for watching, guys. Area of Effect, signing out.